Hi everyone, welcome to another video of Atlas 3DSS. My name is Janeko and today we are going to do a video on the anatomy of a support. So most people have been asking on Lychee what are the difference between the classic and the advanced mode, and I'm gonna break down what you can do on the advanced mode on the premium subscription and what might allow you to do, while trying to explain the keys and functionality of the support itself. So let's start from the bottom. I'm changing from classic, where you see it grayed out like this, and I'm gonna press spacebar to go to the advanced mode. Now you have orange support with several blue gimbals like this, and this breaks down the functionality and movement of the support in segments basically. So to move any part, you just click on the part that you want to select and move, and you can either use the square in the middle, or you can use the arrow keys like on other softwares to have a more precise control like this. So as you saw, I selected the bottom, and the bottom allows you to skew and lean the support like this. We call it fondly Michael Jackson's because they are leaning. I'm sorry for that. So you can see this. We can do it like this. Where is this useful? So imagine that you have a support that you want to follow along a certain axis of movement. So I'm gonna place my support right here, and imagine that I want to follow along the axis of the sword itself, along the printing axis of it. So this is a thing we can do. So you can see I leaned the support itself. So we have our Michael Jackson over here, and we are going to just adjust it a little bit like this. So now you can see that still we can do another thing, which is like this. And now I have a perfect parallel surface that I can attach mini supports from and follow along without much damage, just securing it in place like this, following the same curvature and angle of the surface I want to support like this. So this is one of the possibilities of the Michael Jacksons. So now if you aren't sure if this is stable or not, you can still add a couple of bracings with the Alt key and do something like this. You will see this on a couple of our models. So now you understand how we do it and why we do it. So this is basically the main functionality of leaning a support. So let's start from zero again. Back to advanced mode, and so we started on the bottom with the movement. But you may ask, okay, what are these gray squares in here? So when you click on them and you drag your mouse to the right or the left or upwards or downwards, it will increase or decrease the value of what you selected in terms of size. So if I select the bottom part and I click on one of the gray squares and I slide it, it will increase the surface area of it. As you can see, upwards, downwards, or left or right, they do the same. So basically it's a dynamic control you can use on the fly while doing supports. This is one of the functionalities, and you can use the same functionality across all segments of the support. So this is the bottom. This is the mid segment. So a problem that some people might encounter is when they switch to the advanced mode is they will try to move the support like this, and it will start leaning, which they might not want. So there's a shortcut for that, and we are going to do a video on shortcuts for Lychee. But by the way, this is Alt R, and it will snap into a vertical position like this. So now what I would advise you is anytime that you want to move the support, don't click on any other segment of the actual support besides the mid section. If you click on the mid section and you move, it will never lean. It will be always straight. The only thing that leans is the tip itself. So as you saw, I moved it a bit and it created another ball joint. This ball joint was always here. It's on the bottom. You cannot see it in Classic, but it's here. So it's another ball joint that you can drag upwards to create a pivot point where you can do and add another curvature like this. So imagine that you have a really tough spot to reach. Like imagine that I want to, for some reason, go over this printed obsessions model, and what you see before in other software, you had things that were like this, highly stretched out. It was the limitations of those softwares. But now what you can do is you can drag this upwards. You can pull this ball joint that was in the bottom here like this, and now you have a pivot point that allows you to have the tip much closer to what you actually need to support, just like this. So imagine that you actually had even a bigger distance to the left side where I have my mouse cursor like this. You could pivot this and gain some distance. So this is the functionality of that pivot point. Basically you create a ball joint. So going back, that is, let's call it the lower part of the pillar. You have the mid pillar, then you have this one that controls basically the pivot point on the tip, and then you have the actual tip itself. So as you saw in each segment that I create, you always have the same arrows and the same squares. So this is quite useful because now on the fly, without introducing any value that I need for tip diameters or whatever settings I need to change, I can change some of those on the fly. So imagine that this is too big for what I want and I need it to be smaller. I can just select the tip gimbal like this, I click on it and I slide the square, and now I reduce the size. If I increase it, I just do it like this. So now I basically have another pillar, which I can use for several stuff. So as you saw, I didn't have to lose time going back and forth and introducing numbers to what I need. Another thing this allows is tapering. So imagine that you want something a bit more chunky, but you still want to remain thin on the tip. So you can basically create different size segments like this. So now I'm changing the sizes on different segments like this. So you can start really thick, then taper down and taper down even more over here like this. So imagine that. This is some of the possibilities that this creates. I'm not saying that you should, but the possibility is there. So this is basically it. This is the anatomy of a support in advanced mode. I hope you like it, and feel free to join our Discord if you have any other question. I will drop a link down below, and thank you guys once more and enjoy.